Testing. Can you all hear me? Please walk us through because we were going to start the recording with live for those who couldn't make it tonight. Charlie, can you ask them about the walking over the ready to start? Thank you. All right. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Um, Thank you so much for coming out to my first workshop. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight's presentation is called A Business State of Mind and How to Do Business with the City of Riviera Beach. And so, I really am glad to see faces out tonight in support of. So, welcome. Give me just a moment as far as technical difficulties. We're having just technical difficulties. Just give us one moment. Okay. Oh, it's clear now. It's clear now. Okay, thank you. We are back. So again, welcome. Thanks for coming out on a Monday night to learn more about the city and opportunities that we may have. My name is Latanya Ammons. I'm the director of procurement, and a lot of people ask, what is procurement? And so, procurement is the purchasing, renting, leasing, or otherwise obtaining any supplies or services, including constructions for an entity. And we are involved in the selection of a supplier. And that is the official definition from the National Institute of Governmental Purchasing, also known as NIGP. Right? So, how are we governed? The department or the procurement department is governed by federal law, Florida Sunshine Laws, Palm Beach County Code of Ethics, the City of Riviera Beach Code of Ordinances, the procurement guide, and the procurement card policy. And what does all of that mean? That means that we do not say yes typically unless it falls in line with one of those listed above, and we don't say no unless it falls in line with one of these listed above. Procurement agencies just don't wake up and say, "Oh, I don't like you. No, I don't want to." It really is governed by one of the policies or laws listed above. Right? So we have values and guiding principles of public procurement. This is kind of like a standard outlined by NIGP that most government procurement professionals should obtain to live by, right? So we have accountability, ethics, impartiality, professionalism, service, and transparency. And all of those together are guiding principles that we live every day and at any time. And that last one is transparency is a hot button. We hear it all the time. So everything that we do, we have to record, have a record of, and you, as far as being the public, you can ask us about it, okay? And we have to provide you with it. All right. But our department motto here within the city of Riviera Beach is fairness, transparency, and compliance. And some of you may have heard me speak of that before. We try to be fair across the board for all of our vendors. It doesn't matter who they are, how long they've been doing business with the city, who they know, who they don't know. We have to be fair when it comes to public procurement. Again, transparent, and we have to be compliant because we can, public procurement officials have gone to jail for violating laws. And so, again, it's a nice balance that we adhere to every day. And I want to stop here and say the purpose of me just kind of going through the basics is so everyone understands our direction, our guidelines, what guides us and how we move before we get into actually business opportunities with the city. So here's my current org chart. The procurement department is growing, and I'm happy to say that I've been able to hire some great, talented people. At full capacity, we will be a department of 8. Right now, I have an assistant director, 3 procurement specialists, 1 I'm looking to hire. I have a buyer, a purchasing assistant, and a vacant for a contract specialist. And some may say, wow, you need all of that. And we absolutely do. And we have that much work to do. Okay. The procurement specialist basically focus on the solicitations that you all see once we're here at the city council meetings. But there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scene, a lot of work that gets us to the seat, but also work that never gets us to the seat. And so all of these parts together will make for a great procurement department. So for the agenda today, we are going to talk about what we purchase, how we purchase order thresholds, solicitations, responsiveness, responsibility, how contracts are awarded. Let me give you some advice. Talk about the cone of silence, questions, and then we'll move in for the second part of the presentation tonight. We'll talk about SBE certification. All right. So you will have an opportunity to ask questions. So let's start with what we purchased. This list is not exhaustive or it's not inclusive of everything, but these are a lot of items that we do purchase. And so I won't read the whole list, but I categorize them as a good, technology, and services. And again, it can go up and down. Sometimes as an entity may have a one-off, but again, everything may or may not be listed here, but here's a good representation of what we purchase. And so here we want to move into the 6 primary functions of the procurement department. A lot of times you think, oh, just solicitations, but we do a lot more, as I earlier described. We have vendor management, the procurement card, surplus sales, contract management, purchase orders, and solicitations. So that is our primary function on a day to day. And of course, there will always be something ad hoc that they will ask the procurement department to do. But these are our primary functions. So let's get into the details. So first, we'll start with vendor management. That is the vendor application that everyone will complete if you want to become a vendor with the city. But please understand that a submission of a vendor application doesn't guarantee business with the city. However, we need that information on file. We need to know who we're going to do business with, your address. You need to also submit a W-9 to know that the information that you provided for us as far as your tax ID is valid with the IRS. And so that is the vendor management portion. Okay. Um, I would like all vendor management forms to be submitted online electronically. It's easier for us. Sometimes we make mistakes when we hand write on the application form, so you are able to submit an application electronically. Next, we'll move into the procurement card. So the procurement card allows us the ability to quickly facilitate procurement transactions on behalf of the city. Everyone in the city does not have a procurement card. There is a procurement policy. There are guidelines and there are rules that you have to adhere to. And all of our charges are subject to an audit, just as anything else. But the procurement card is easier. There are some things that it's just easier to swipe a card, just like your own personal credit card. But the procurement department is responsible for administering like the program around the P card. Okay. Next, we want to go into surplus sales. Surplus sales is when, let's say, just hypothetically, the police department wants to sell a car, right? That's a surplus sale where the public can purchase items that the government entity no longer needs. All right. We want to revamp that particular process. It will be online, so anyone can register. And so when it's on the website, the community will know where they can go and register in order to buy goods and services that not only us, but other entities are selling. In my previous role, we sold copiers, we sold ink, desk furniture. Lots of things are out there. So again, the procurement department is responsible for surplus sales as well as actual purchases. Contract management. Um, the contract management portion is what I will be expanding on. And the contract management for us is really more of an administration. Where are our contracts? How much have we obligated ourselves? When do the contracts expire? How much do we have left and with whom? And so soon I will be announcing some tools that will allow us to facilitate that reporting portion of the contract management. Procurement doesn't necessarily get into, we're not on site for the construction to say you did or didn't do anything. However, we are responsible for maintaining certificates of insurance. You know, they expire. And so we need an update on that particular portion. And so, again, I'm hiring a contract specialist, and that person will be responsible for that portion or that section of procurement, and that will be the contract management. All right. So next, let's get into the purchase orders. We don't hear a lot about purchase orders, but the city approved approximately 8,000 purchase orders last year, right? That's everything from paper and pens to every contract that you see approved by the council becomes a purchase order. The purchase order works with our ERP system where we are actually telling the supplier we would like to order this particular item for this particular dollar amount and this particular quantity. It is a mini contract in and of itself because we do have standard purchase order terms and conditions, but it's a contract. And so, again, the city has about 8,000 purchase orders on average that we supply to our vendors throughout, not only Florida, but if a vendor just happens to be outside of Florida. So, here, let's get into the purchasing thresholds. As you can see on the chart, these requirements are outlined by the code. All right. So if a particular department would like to spend less than $2,500, then the method to purchase will be a purchase order or procurement card. And as such, they just need a quote. And the approval is procurement. Doesn't have to go anywhere else. It stays in my department as long as they have the supporting documentation. Next, we have 2,500 to 24,999. And that method, the methods used to purchase are again a purchase order or a procurement card. Now, let me say this. We don't typically have $12,000 purchases on our P card, but there could be some instances where, especially in an emergency situation, that the charge is a little high. But usually the P card charges are low. They're not that great. However, you do have to have um, for 3 written quotes or a contract. So let's stop here for a minute and let me further explain. When we have 3 written quotes, the department is to select the lowest quote. So if you are a vendor and someone has reached out to you and asked for a quote and you didn't get a purchase order, it could be because you were not the lowest, the vendor who provided the lowest quote. Again, this is in code, standard throughout really all of procurement land. 3 quotes, lowest quote wins. All right. That requires procurement and the city manager approval. All right. So it's going to work itself through the process. If you are a small business and maybe, whatever business you have, yeah, ten to $20,000, then I would encourage you to reach out to the department heads of that department in order to forge a relationship. Procurement's role is not to tell them who to use. We just make sure we facilitate and that they are dotting the I's and crossing the T's of who the department heads select. Okay. So I can't tell them to use you because your quote is $10,000. Just with the sheer volume, we talked about that 8,000. A lot of that is working behind the scenes. We receive a requisition. We check to make sure that they have the quotes or they have whatever supporting documentation is required, and then we approve the purchase order. Okay? Yes, sir. Um, and so the question is, do we go by something other than lowest quote? Do we consider experience? Do we consider equipment? The answer to that is yes, and typically that is over the $25,000 threshold limit. And I'll get into that in just a second. But let's say if, I don't know, if a department needs something and they need something specific, a particular part, and it's specific to what they need, they may have to even though they receive 3 quotes, if the original manufacturer requires, let's say, an OEM part, it may be a little more. Does that make sense? So even though there are always exceptions, we as procurement professionals have to be able to define or answer to that particular exception, right? However, if it's above $25,000, you have other methods to purchase an item. This list isn't inclusive. Before tonight, there is a solicitation, and we're going to talk about the piggyback, right? A fully executed contract is required above $25,000, and that is what you see here at the council meeting. Most spend above $25,000 because that requires the approval of procurement, the city manager, and the city council, and that is per code, right? That is per code. So any other questions? And this is mhm. Yes and no, and I'll explain even further in a couple of slides. Yeah. Yeah. For those type of the question is he said he's usually used to lowest bid. I'll describe that in the type of solicitation in a couple of slides. Okay. All right, so let's get into everyone's favorite solicitation. So for my first slide, I want to encourage you all as business leaders is to be coachable, coachable, coachable. And you say why? Because every entity has a different rule or a different policy. And so you're here in the city of Riviera Beach. The city of Palm Beach Gardens varies a little, is different. The city of West Palm, and again, I'm still learning my cities. The city of Royal Palm, Palm Beach County Schools, Palm Beach County. Everyone operates differently. Everyone posts their solicitation at different places. Everyone will require you to do something different. And so in my career, you pick up the phone and we hear, well, X entity didn't do it like this. Well, why are you all doing like this? Because they didn't do it over there. And it's just kind of hard to explain to everyone that everyone does it differently. So, someone else, my threshold is $25,000. Someone else may have a $50,000 threshold. So they can spend, $40,000 and it doesn't have to go before their council or their commission. And so, when we call, when we give instructions for any entity that you work with, my first step is to please be coachable and just listen to how that particular entity needs you to move or requires of you. Okay? Now, there are different solicitation types. This list is not inclusive of everything, but these are the four main ones that we deal with here in the city of Riviera Beach. You have an RFQ, which is a request for quote. I want the lowest price. It's Sunday. I need a lawnmower. Home Depot or Lowe's, same brand. Who's going to charge me the least amount of money? That's where I'm going. You may consider how far you have to get there. The point is, you just quote apples to apples. I'm sorry, Fuji apples to Fuji apples. Okay, that's an RFQ. Now, an RFQU is your request for qualifications. I'm putting this out and I would like to qualify a pool of vendors, right? Those that can provide the same service, but I want them to put them on a qualifying list. You may have heard us talk about an owner's rep. We've had that solicitation out where we had a list of vendors who are qualified based upon the requirements of that solicitation. So it's referred to as an RFQ as well, but I want to make sure we understood what the difference was here. Request for quote, request for qualifications. All right. Next, we have is the ITB, which is your hard bid. It's called a hard bid. It's called an invitation for bid. It's called an invitation to bid. But this particular one is the lowest price, but you have to also meet other qualifications. Do you have your certificate of insurance? Is it the right amount of insurance? Have you turned in an e-verify form? Need you to have 5 years of experience. We can have those justifications in. Once you pass those, we look at the lowest price. That's a hard bid. Okay. And then lastly, we have the one that takes the longest is a request for proposal. That is where not only are we going to evaluate your technical ability to meet our needs, we're going to look at that solicitation. You're going to say, hey, we asked for A, B, and C. We're going to evaluate A, B, and C. And we're going to get everyone a score for all of A, B, and C. And then we'll look at price. So when we have RFPs, price is not the going factor. It's the whole package, right? It's not the lowest. It's not the highest. It's who have we evaluated as a team, and procurement does not participate in the evaluation as far as we manage the process. We don't evaluate packages, but who told me on paper that they can do the job that I asked for, and we evaluate it, and then we open a price. Mhm. Not a problem. Request for qualifications. Request for quote. Okay. No, I would say since I've been here, it's about, I want to say 60 maybe ITB, 40% RFP. Well, no, that would be 100. And we have some RFQs. Okay, 5% RFQ. QU. I haven't seen a lot of requests for quotes, but I could post one, right? And a lot of times, remember on the previous slide, we talked about 3 quotes are needed. Sometimes we don't know. We know Home Depot, we know Lowe's, but we forget about Ace Hardware, right? So we can use a function. I can put out an RFQ and just say, hey, I just need a quote. And then I put it, I ask the vendors in that particular category. And then again, it's just straight price. But I haven't seen a lot of RFQs here. Request for quotes, but yes, for request for qualifications. Mhm. And I have a where to find city bids. They're posted on the city website, or sometimes we post in the paper. And recently, we're starting to post on social media. So we want to get the word out. And we say or, but sometimes it's an and. For federal projects, it becomes an and. I will have to post in the paper and I will have to post right on the website. But at minimum, it's always on the website. So I encourage everyone to register so you will always be notified of all the solicitations that we posted because we post on the website. Mhm. Social media will be the Facebook, LinkedIn, um, Twitter, Instagram. You are very observant, sir. I do not have the Man Star. That's why I point you back to the city website. We are going soon to make a change away from Demand Star. And so we will put out a full press release. We will have plenty of information. Everyone will be made aware, but the website, whatever we do is on the city's website. Okay. Yes. 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 I have looked for a new e-procurement system. We've made a selection. We're just not, haven't fully advertised it yet, but it's coming out. Everyone will know. We'll do a full media blast. Council doesn't even know yet. Okay, but I promise you, the vendor community will like it a lot better. It will be free, and once you register, you'll have access to all the solicitations across Florida that system uses, not just for the city. So it's a win-win for everyone. Okay. Before I go into that spill, I'll stop. All right. So I made this chart so we can also understand clearly the difference between an ITB and an RFP. Competitive sealed bid is also considered a ITB. Proposal RFP. So a lot of times people use them interchangeably. I would encourage you, whether it's you're looking at a solicitation for the city of Riviera Beach, the county, or anywhere else, to just read the document and understand what the ask of you is. All right. So for is there an advertising required? Yes, that's Florida Sunshine Law. You have to advertise. What is the goal? Lowest price or best value. The evaluation will be procurement or a panel. Cost evaluation, again, lowest price or the full picture. Okay. Um, Negotiations allowed? No. It's whatever price you submitted. There's no negotiation. Competitive? Yes. So, any questions? Yes, I have a couple of slides that talks about responsiveness and responsibility. All right. Who is a responsive bidder? So a lot of times we ask for certificates of insurance. You have to submit your e-verify form. You have to be registered in Florida. You have that long list that you've seen on a solicitation. And each solicitation requirement is different. Okay. If you do not submit one of the forms, you're not responsive, and you're deemed non-responsive, and we can't move forward. Um, you have to sign all the amendments and submit it with your solicitation. You have to submit your price sheet. You have to submit. We've had people who submit, but they don't have any attachments. If we say you have to have a business license, you don't submit it, you're non responsive. And so it's important to always pay attention to your checklist. Ask questions. If you don't understand, ask for clarification. Again, these tips will help you here with any entity. And so that is how we define responsive. Okay. And you've heard that. Yes, Mr. Evans. Mhm. Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you why. And that's come up in that come, oh, someone says, oh, it's just pages. Why? It's just one page. Okay, but where do I stop? Is it 2 pages for the next vendor? Is it three and a half? We asked for 50. Right, wrong, or indifferent, agreed or not, Whatever the solicitation says holds. Yes, there's language in the solicitation that says that you can waive irregularities. Mm. So if I waive it for you at 51 pages, but I don't waive it for you at 50 and a half, how can I defend myself? How can I defend myself? And then you're upset. And I tell you, I got a call today from a colleague, and someone had started to put the items in the electronic platform, but they didn't hit the submit button on time. So they called them and said, it was in there. It's non responsive. You didn't receive it. Because when he did the bid opening, only one vendor has submitted. If it's in draft format, that means you didn't submit it. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. If you received an email from the company and it said, yes, it went through, and I don't see it, that's when we talk to the company. Now, we're not just cold blooded, we do call. But just like the telephone call we received today, and it's happened to me before, I called back to the company and they said, oh, yes. What happened was that particular solicitation closed at 11 o'clock and a person started submitting at 10:51. It timed out on them, and we can see that. What do we tell our children when they have a project due? Don't wait till the last minute. I was told that as a child, and that it kind of kind of resonates. So if you are submitting a solicitation in the cutoff time, I say start an hour beforehand. Now I have received a phone call from the entity that says, "Hey, I'm on the phone with vendor, you know, and they're having difficulty. Could you extend it on their behalf?" Absolutely, because they called and they tried, and it was before the closing date. But I also worked for an entity that said if you have any issues within 2 hours of closing, they're not going to jump through hoops. Well, it depends on the system. Some systems won't even allow us to see who has until it turned over. But I am okay with the yes no. But are we gonna make it a habit? Yeah, we can. To make it a habit. Okay, and that's a good practice. And yes, I wouldn't. Yes, we wouldn't answer the phone and say yes, we do see it. Okay, because it is technology, right? So I encourage you to have a goal of 2 hours beforehand, and that now we cannot see any of the details. We don't know if you were supposed to submit 5 forms and you only submitted 4. We just, see. Okay, I see your name. Yes, Miss Jenkins. Mhm. Yes. Yes. So her question is, will a new system allow you to put items in overtime versus having to do it at one time and then go back and submit? And the answer is yes. But I encourage you, like we tell our children, do not wait until the last minute because let's look at it the opposite way, even if it's in draft form. We have public bid openings. And I had a public bid opening. And I opened it, and let's just say I read off the 5 vendors. It was 2 o'clock, 2:05. We were done. I received a phone call about 2:10 to say mine was in draft. That's unfair to the vendors who submitted on time. They saw who had submitted on time. How do I explain that? I can't. Non-responsive. Well, actually, yeah, I wouldn't even see it. I couldn't accept the solicitation. And remember, when solicitations are due, they're due. If we've made an error, always ask questions. If today is Monday the 24th, if I said Monday the 25th, you're like, well, wait, the 25th on Monday, call and ask. We're human, we make mistakes. And we correct it in the form of an addendum. We'll say correction. And in that case, if I said Monday the 25th, and today is Monday, I would change it to Tuesday the 25th to give you the benefit of the doubt because in our minds, we're probably thinking the 25th. Mhm. I believe it does. Yes, I believe it does. Okay. All right. The next slide is we're going to talk about responsible. Okay. Officially, a bidder who has the capability in all respects to perform in full the contract requirements as stated. So I also need a responsible um, winner vendor. If you have a small landscaping contract and you've only done residential and you submit for something that's grand, can you meet that requirement? I'm using that loosely. I don't have a solicitation that's open for landscape, but just as an example, can you meet it? Are you responsible? So responsiveness, then there's responsibility. Um, so here's my advice. My advice is to read all of the documents. Not, oh, we did this before. Oh, I did this before. Oh, this is the same thing they wanted over there. I need you to please read all of the documents. Ask questions by the deadline, date, and time. We have a questions deadline. After that, I'm not obligated to answer the question. It becomes unfair. Really, at the end of the day, it becomes unfair. So I have a deadline. Everybody else submitted their questions. A week later, you submit a question because somebody else may have had other questions as well. So I don't answer. Only communicate with the procurement professional. Why is this important? Um, because I don't know if your question is related to, the process. And so where I've worked all the time, you can only talk to procurement at all times. We go and receive the answer. And here's the thing. If someone asked a question in the back of the room tonight, everyone wouldn't hear. I repeated some questions so everyone could hear. That is the same premise for asking written questions and only to procurement. We put it in the form of an addendum to make sure it's fair to everyone. Okay. Anything outside of that, it becomes an unfair advantage. You think it's small, right? You submit those 51 pages and you say, well, I talked to, such and such, and they said it was okay. And I tell you no. Okay. All right. Only written questions are valid. Please write them down. I want to make sure I understood the question. I want to make sure you asking the question correctly or let me respond to what you asked versus what I think I heard. Attach all required documents. We have a list. Attach, attach, attach. Submit your bid well in advance. And report, I should say report. I apologize. System issues immediately. Don't wait till the last minute. All right, putting your best foot forward. So I want you to do your homework and be prepared. Know your products and know your audience. Okay. Can you meet the requirements? Be sure that the bidding on a government contract suits your company well. Well, Tanya, what do you mean by that? Well, our net payment terms, so it was net 45. Can you wait that long? Eh, you know, if if you're awarded the contract, there may be a ramp up period, so there may be 2-3 months. Can your business handle that 2-3 month ramp up and then another 45 days to be paid? Depending on how the contract is written, you may need some places I worked in. We don't give down payments on the work. I'm not saying we don't here. What I'm saying is it government is we're great, but we have some improvements in some areas. If you're responding to a federal contract, the federal guidelines that you have to adhere to that are listed in the solicitation. Are you prepared for that? Can you handle that? Do you have the staff for that? Research the demands. Researching the price of your product and your service. I'm not saying, we just because sometimes You think we take the lowest? If everybody else is 100,000 and you're 20, I'm gonna pick up the phone and I'm gonna give you a phone call. And sometimes I may have to throw out a 20,000 if the market is telling me it's 100. Someone may say why? Because that's either you don't understand the ask, or it's a lot of change orders coming for you to complete the job. So then if I have to cancel that contract because you can't, here, then that's money and time wasted. All right. So make sure you're pricing accordingly. Make sure your business is eligible. You have your license and your certifications, and then keep your contact information updated. It's nothing more frustrating than having to call someone and something is wrong or the email is off. Mhm. No, and you're speaking specifically about a construction. No, there are always change orders for a construction project. Yes. Yes. I'll give you an example that I dealt with. I had vendors come in to look at the data network center. They gave a quote for an expansion in the network. They were there, they saw everything that was there, gave it to the lowest bidder and all these change orders for accessories and everything else. I'm like, you came and you took a tour, right? Why all the changes? Yeah, why all the changes? Maybe you didn't do your due diligence. And there are some vendors that will undercut, try to get in on a hard bid, and then some of the changes are things that were already outlined in the contract. Yes, but not a normal construction. We dug and yeah. Yes, sir. Yes. Uh, the question is, our terms are 45, and the question is that a guarantee? Based upon my experience, if you submit an invoice that is correct and according to the instructions, and you include the purchase order number, yeah, most times 45 days. Now, the question is, have you submitted it to the right person or entity? Are they aware and do they do their due diligence? And that could be, training internally and or externally. So I encourage you all, if you invoice the city, to include the purchase order number, email finance, and also email your contact. Even, include them in the invoice. Hmm. 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 What happens? I can't speak to those cases, and I can honestly say, if you call any of my old clients, I don't like that issue. I am a procurement professional that understands that we are not successful without our vendors, right? And so I try to understand the procurement and the invoice process and how everyone it becomes a win-win for everyone. There may always be an issue, but every vendor I've worked with, private industry and public, I really want to get in. I really want to learn. And actually, I believe I have a meeting, not this week, next week, with finance to even get a better understanding. So therefore, once we're onboarding, we can help you and everyone is clear. Send your invoices to this, particular address. Include this, and to try to help push it through, the system. I'm not a procurement professional that drops it over the fence because technically, I have a signed contract. I can't do that because I may need you again, right? I want you to bid for work in my entity. And I know that businesses will not submit a solicitation if there are too many issues with my entity. And so for me and how I run my team, we don't toss anything over the fence because I want you to be happy. It's a win-win for both of us. And I think it's unfair if I have you do work for me and I don't pay you, right? Everybody wants to get paid, and so we are going to, as I evolve. I've only been here 7 months. We work on the onboarding. We'll give you the numbers and the contact information and work internally. But our goal is never to not pay you. That's never the goal. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yes. Yes. Well, I will officially say that I care because, again, I want vendors to respond. I want to have that working relationship. For me, it's about the reputation and people wanting to come here and do business. Now, I can't solve all the problems, and frankly, today I caused one of my own, to be honest with you. However, we do our best, and payments are very, important to me. And so for my staff, and they'll tell you the phone was ringing. I kept saying, why in the world does this phone keep ringing out here? It wasn't our department. I got up and answered the phone, just trying to help someone. Okay, so that's not how I operate. I'm not perfect, but if you win a contract with us, or even if you just have a quote, please, please, please include your quote number on your invoice and email finance and the department head. And then if you have an issue, send a list to procurement. You say we have these outstanding. We will try our best to get you paid because we want everyone to be happy, right? Okay, so the cone of silence. So legally, the cone says that when a solicitation closes, all communication cease, and it should only come through procurement. A good practice will be the moment it hits the street is you only talk to procurement. Okay, so practice only talk to procurement because if you email someone else, then you just emailed someone else. And I don't know if they've given you good or bad or correct, what I'm saying, information. I can stand by what I said. But the cone is officially once the solicitation closes and all communication will cease at that particular time. Yes, ma'am. You should contact the procurement specialist that is listed on the RFP or bid or ITB. Okay. That's good practice. Okay. But if you talk and communicate, it's a violation of the code. Well, any questions I haven't answered before we move into the next part of tonight? All right. So now we want to talk about the small business enterprise and the office. The OEBO office is here. So a part of the solicitation, the goal for the city is to have a 15% goal for SBE spend, right? It's in code, and that would be our small business enterprise spend. We do, we list it in all of our solicitations, right? What the goal is. And so some people may say, well, what does that mean? And so I've invited the office to come in and talk about how to become certified, exactly what that is, and then how we can enhance and move the city forward. So if Ms. Deirdre would like to come up, and I want to get her presentation together. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Latoya. Good evening. My name is Deirdre Kyle. I'm with the Office of Equal Business Opportunity for Palm Beach County. I'm going to go over the purpose of our office. You have a question already? Oh, okay. Is that better? Thank you. So I'm going to go over the responsibilities of our office briefly and then go into certification. Our why: to eliminate the disparity small businesses experience in public and private sector contracting. Our mission is to foster the inclusion of local SMWBEs in the county's procurement process, which influences the economic development of the county. And our vision is to be the most valuable resource and leading advocate for SMWBEs throughout Palm Beach County. What are the benefits of the EBO program? One is to be a resource to improve the economic landscape of the local small business, provide mentor-protege opportunities, equitable access to procurement opportunities, and access to resources, tools, and technical assistance for startups and existing businesses. Our core programs are certification, contract compliance, outreach to recruit new SBEs to participate in our program, internal and external trainings, internal to our staff in the county so they understand the EBO program and apply it correctly, and then external training to you to let you know what we do, how we do it, and what can benefit you. We also provide referrals for resources for financial and technical assistance with our resource partners. All of these programs are tailored to assist the small businesses and to increase their participation and small startup businesses as well. The Office of Equal Business Opportunity is supported by two committees. One is a goal setting committee, and this is the committee that looks at every procurement over $100,000 to determine if there is an appropriate API that can be placed on that, what the goal may be, what the evaluation preference may be. This is a huge advantage to our small businesses because you can listen in or attend those meetings to find out what's coming down the pike. This is before it's advertised. And those meetings are every first and third Wednesday of the month. So you can call in, web in, attend, but believe me, a lot of the big boys are doing this, boys and girls, excuse me, but they're also getting advance notification to put their teams together, start working and find out who they can work with, who they can partner with. We also have an Equal Business Opportunity Advisory Committee, and this is a 15-member citizens community. Basically, they are there to support us and review the administration of the program, policies, and procedures, and to promote MWBE participation with county prime and subcontracting opportunities. Those meetings are held bi-monthly on the third Wednesday at 8:30 in the purchasing conference room. So let's talk about OEBO certification process. The first thing you do is you have to be a registered vendor in our purchasing department in order to even be able to submit an application. So once you are registered, you'll get a verification from purchasing to say that yes, everything matched up, your TIN number and the information you put in our system match. So now you can go to the next piece of it. So we have an OEBO application, one that's paper that we do not like you to use, and then also one that's electronic that you'll be able to use through your vendor registration account. Once you submit your application, it will be assigned to one of the specialists in our office, and that specialist will be assigned to you for the life of your certification or the presence of that specialist. And we are there to assist you with information, with payment, with opportunities. So please take advantage of that. Once we review the documentation associated with the application, we will make a recommendation to our manager that it should be certified, recertified, denied, or that it's abandoned. And he will make the decision of whether or not it's approved or denied. There are two major factors in terms of certification. One is the size standards for small businesses. And these were just recently increased in March. So if you are a construction company and your receipts over the past 3 years average less than $13 million, then you're eligible to become certified. So we have a size standard for all of the different business functions. So CCNA professional services, those are your engineers, architects, mappers, and $7 million. Professionals, non-CCNA, which may be your accountants, your attorneys, consultants, is 5.7 million. Goods, 7 million, and other services, 5.7 million. And one of the things about the goods, I want to point out that we buy everything. We buy fish food, we buy lights, animal care, So all of the things that you use on your day-to-day basis, we buy. And if you can provide that to us, we would definitely like for you to become certified with us. To become certified, these are the documents that we need. And I'm going to be upfront with you. We are the hardest agency to certify with because we're very thorough. We want to know that once we put our reputation, our office on the line, say that you have been vetted and you know how to do the line of business that you're certified in, we want to know that you can do it. And if we say it, then we want the other folks in the agency to know and trust that this firm can do the work. So all state and county professional licenses that's required, certificates of applicable for your industry. So if you are a contractor, your GC license, your building construction license, your engineering or design services license, also your business tax receipt from the municipality in which you work, as well as the county's business tax receipt. I don't know if you remember during COVID, the county was giving out grants to small businesses. We gave out over $71 million in grants. And the main reason a company did not get a grant was because they did not have a business tax receipt. They were operating their business without a tax receipt, which is required in Palm Beach County. So we'll need a resume from you. So we want to know that you have provided this service in the past professionally. Largest contract to date, get an idea of what your standards are, what your capabilities are. Invoices and contracts saying that, yes, you have performed this work professionally. And then any financial information that you can give us in terms of how you got started, where the money came from. And the reason we want to know that is because we want to know that you started your company. You didn't get a grant from another person down the road or a larger firm that wants you to become certified so that they can use you. So we want to know that you have the money, you have the foundation to do the work. We also want to know that if there's more than one person in your field, that you have the employees to provide the service. So we want to know, the people, the employees, when you hire them, are they full-time or part-time? Reemployment tax form. So if you tell us that you have 5 employees, we want to see on your reimbursed employment tax form that you pay taxes for those 5 employees. So we want to make sure that what you say is actually legitimate. 1099s for your independent contractors and a list of equipment. So if I'm a underground utilities contractor, I need an excavator. So I need to see that you own an excavator, all the other equipment that's necessary to provide that service. And then if required, insurance, bonding, and workers' comp. For documentation for minority or women business enterprises, is one more step is that's to provide proof of gender, race, or ethnicity. And typically we can accept your driver's license, birth certificate. It's slightly different for ethnic certification. If you are applying for Hispanic certification, we need to know that we need copies of your parents' birth certificate identifying their ethnicity, because typically now the birth certificates don't have that information. So we need to know that you are legitimately a Hispanic business. So here's certification and some of its benefits. Certification requirements, domiciled in Palm Beach County. We do not like and we do not want to have businesses that are across the county line in Martin County or in Broward County benefiting from the program in which is established for Palm Beach County businesses. And we have many examples of attempts to claim Palm Beach County domicile. I had one company that was based in Broward County, but was renting the living room of a friend of theirs in an apartment. That was an easy no. So, but because we have so many opportunities in Palm Beach County, we're getting tested and applications from a lot of businesses that are not domiciled here. And we want you, Palm Beach County businesses, to benefit from it. So we also have, we want to make sure that you're registered with the state of Florida and SunBiz, and then again, your municipal tax receipts, as well as Palm Beach County and your licenses. So some of the benefits are we set project goals, and that's what that goal setting committee does. Minimum mandatory of 20% if there are SBEs available. So we want to do an analysis to see what SBEs are available to provide those services. We also have evaluation preferences on professional services. So we may set a 20% goal for SBE participation, but on a engineering contract, we may also put a MBE evaluation preference for up to 15 points. So what we're saying there is to play in the game, you have to submit your proposal with 20%, period. However, if you want to receive points, the more participation you have of your MBE partners, the higher your goal will be. So 15% goes to the highest, and then it's scaled down lower than that. And out of 100 points, 15 is a lot. So you want to maximize your opportunity there. We also have price preference for single trade contractors with limited subcontracting opportunities, and that's 10%. If you are 10% within, if you are within 10% of the lowest non-SBE, then you will be awarded that contract. So that's another advantage that you have. And then again, we have training. You will be listed in our vendor database so that the prime contractors can research and identify you as being a potential partner. And most significantly is that the other agencies in the county will accept our certification. Why? Because we're thorough, because we vet it and make sure that you can do the work. So cities, Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, School District, Solid Waste Authority, South Florida Water Management District, they all accept our certification without any additional documentation. So to work with Palm Beach County, we have 5 construction departments plus our procurement. The construction departments mainly issue the capital improvement projects, the larger projects, but they also have a procurement unit that works with our procurement department for the other goods and services that that department may need. With airports, engineering, public works, environmental resources, facilities, development and operations, and water utilities department. Those are our 5 construction departments. Now, I work closely with the facilities department. Within the next 6 months to a year, we're going to be issuing RFPs for over $6 million, in addition to what we have out on the street now. So a lot of these are great opportunities for you to team with people or businesses that are going to bid on these projects or propose. And you can see some of them are in the design stage, some are in the CM at risk participation stage. So all of them have different contractors, consultants, as well as timelines and different values. So if you look at the West County Administration renovation, it's $4 million for CM work. That's a threshold that a nice small business could prime themselves without having to be a sub. So we want that to be an incentive for you to get certified with us as well as participate on county projects. We also try to assist you by sending you to our resource partners. SCORE is an organization of retired professionals that will assist you with startup, with management, with overall practice of your business. The Small Business Development Center will do the same similar work. TED Center is primarily technology education. And Pathway Capital Funding and the Black Business Investment Corporation are our resources to provide loans to small businesses as well as minority Black-owned businesses. Other partners that we have is City of West Palm Beach, the school district, solid waste, South Florida Water Management District, and Riviera Beach. So these partners we work collaboratively with on multiple programs and partnerships as we're doing tonight. But with that, I thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Yes, ma'am.
For the NPE certification, what is the first activity? So my mom's working to do something in the country, like, so how does that work?
We would just need to have an official translation.
So that would be my responsibility to find translators.
Yes, ma'am. Anything else? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. My goal is always to in talking to small businesses, is to not only talk about how to increase your business with the city, but also around the city as well. And so, based upon the presentation, she listed several projects that are upcoming. And so, I will encourage you to also not only become registered as a SBE, but also register on the site so you are aware of opportunities that come out. She listed the school district and water and the South Florida Management Department, as well as others. I encourage you to take the time, register for everyone, and some of the tips that I gave you, it will help. It doesn't matter if you are just applying for to a City of Riviera Beach project, but it will also help you for all projects. We're here to help you. As I stated earlier, there's no entity that is not successful without our vendors. We need you, but we have some things that we need for you to do. Register, be involved, submit packages, ask questions, read the documents, be coachable. And at the end of the day, we will have a win. We could have a win-win situation and that we're all successful. So if there are no other questions or any other questions, we're here for you. You can reach out to me, to reach out to my staff. But if there are no other questions, we'll end the program tonight. And I want to thank you all again for coming out. I really appreciate you.